Reading Confessions of an Alcoholic, page 100. It spread almost to the end of the hallway, covering most of the carpet. It was a mess. Ada was not happy. Bundy went downstairs to the laundry and in his drunken stupor undressed himself, taking his new suit, placing it into the washing tub full of water, followed, allowing it to soak. He went to bed. Next morning he was ambushed by Ada, who was so very angry, disappointed with Bundy from his actions the day before. When he arrived at work, there was further disappointment for Bundy, with Alex not being very happy by his actions. All Peter could do was laugh about Bundy's vomit hitting him on the head while he was holding the paper up to stop it. Eventually, all had been forgiven once more. How many times before Bundy is forgiven until something would be done about his drinking behaviour? Luckily for Bundy, he didn't drink all the time. When he did, he made up for the times he didn't drink. Not long afterwards, Bundy and Alex were called to assist other detectives in a nearby town with a murder investigation. Bundy was in his element. He couldn't be paired off with Alex because each of them weren't familiar with the local people nor knew where to go. Bundy was paired off with a detective whom he'd known from his teenage days. He acquainted himself with this detective named Graham. He said to him, "Do you remember me? I was one of those hoons you kicked up the arse when I was a teenager." Graham replied, "Well, it must have done you all right. You're here, aren't you?" Bundy said, "Yeah, all thanks to you." He was overwhelmed with joy to think he was working with a person who kept him on the straight and narrow through his teenage years. Eventually, the murder investigation was solved. Actually, it was Alex who solved the mystery because he'd identified the murderer from a previous encounter he'd had with him some years before. After the case was wound up, a carton of beer was presented for all the investigating officers to have. Alex handed a stubby of beer to Bundy, saying, "You only have one. If you get sick over me when we're going home, I'll lock you in the bloody boot of the car." He was serious. It had been a couple of months since Bundy had got into the trouble about his drinking behaviour. He was once again allowed to work by himself. One Friday night he was working the evening shift. After his workmates had finished their shift, they went over to the hotel. Bundy went with them for a couple of beers before his meal break. As usual, his workmates left after a couple of drinks, leaving Bundy at the bar drinking. It was well past his meal break before he returned to the police station. When he returned, the desk sergeant called out to him, "Where the bloody hell have you been? We've been looking for you everywhere." There's a fellow at one of the pubs smashed his mate in the face with a glass. His mate is at the hospital and they have him at the hotel. You better get out round there.